You are sitting at your desk right now, staring at a notebook filled with brilliant ideas. You have a vision for a product or a business that could change your life. But instead of putting it out into the world, you are waiting. You are tweaking the logo, agonizing over the packaging, and telling yourself that it just isn't quite ready yet. You are falling into the most common trap that destroys businesses before they even begin, the illusion of perfection. The truth is, the fear of criticism is paralyzing your progress. You worry about what people will think if the product is not flawless. But holding on to an idea in secret guarantees a 100% failure rate, simply because a product that never launches can never succeed. When you wait for perfection, you are operating entirely on guesswork. You might spend 6 entire months perfectly engineering a feature that your actual customers do not even care about. The market is the only judge that matters, and you cannot know what people truly want until you show them what you have built. This is why some of the most successful businesses in the world started with what you might call an ugly product. In the business world, this is known as a minimum viable product. It is not about delivering bad quality. It is about creating the absolute fastest, most basic version of your idea that solves a core problem for your customer. If your product is supposed to help people organize their schedules, the ugly version isn't a flawless, feature-rich app that takes a year to code. It might just be a simple, well-designed spreadsheet that you can sell today. If you are not at least a little bit embarrassed by the first version of your product, you have launched too late. The ugly version is your secret weapon because it allows you to learn from actual paying customers. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't want my product to stay ugly forever, and it absolutely will not. Your product is never going to stay in this initial, basic state. The entire purpose of launching an ugly first version is to gather the exact feedback and capital you need to build a beautiful second version. Your first launch is simply a starting line, not your final destination. You are not locked into this initial design. Once you know what your paying customers actually love, you can always make improvements, upgrade the features, and perfect the aesthetics in version 2, version 3, and beyond. The difference is that when you build your updated versions, you are building them based on hard facts, not blind assumptions. To get started this weekend, you only need to follow 3 simple steps to break the cycle of overthinking. First, identify the core problem. What is the single most important thing your product must do to provide value? Strip away everything else. Second, build the sketch. Create the simplest possible solution to that problem. It does not need to be a physical manufactured item yet. It could be a basic landing page, a digital guide, or a handmade prototype. Third, and most importantly, ask for the sale. Real feedback only happens when someone is willing to pull out their wallet and pay for your solution. Praise is nice, but purchases are proof. An ugly product that teaches you exactly what your customers want is a massive success. It proves that people are willing to pay for your solution, even before it is polished. And remember, you will always have the opportunity to make it perfect later. The only true failure is holding onto your perfect idea forever and never giving it the chance to grow. Pick one idea you have been sitting on, build the ugly version this weekend, and put it out into the world.